Intro to candlestick charts. Each candle has 4 data points: the high, the open, the close, and the low. Now, green candle and red candle are different because for a red candle, it's signaling that the price went down from open to close, and so that would mean this is the open and this is the close. The high and low are still the same. And for the green candle, this is the open and this is the close, signaling that the price went up during the day. So the open is at 9:30 a.m. Eastern and the close is at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And so some things people like to look at is, for example, gaps in the candles. So for example, here we closed on Friday, January 24th, and then we opened at the close was 59.70, and then we opened here at 57.32. Now, usually you will know what the open is going to be approximately before it begins. We're going to look at a 5-minute chart, and you can see in the 5-minute chart here that the orange or yellow here, brown, is the morning, and this is the night. So this is the after hours portion. So you can see here that this is 9:30, and so at 9:25 a.m., right before the open, you knew essentially approximately where the open is going to be. Right at 9:25, we closed here at 56.50, and at 9:30 the open was 56.51. And so you already know that something is going to be a gap down because it closed here the previous day, and then you can see essentially where it's going to open up. And so you can trade gaps. A lot of gap strategies revolve around trying to buy the dip on the gap, hoping that the gap will mean revert back up. And so if you are looking to see some statistics on these gaps of how well the stock performed after a gap down, you can do that. You can do that like this. So you go to gaps, and so this is SPY, for example, or this is let's say Apple. So if we look at Apple and we take a gap down, say of 3%, what this shows is from open to open. So for example, say Apple. The reason I'm choosing Apple instead of Bitcoin here is because that Bitcoin ETF only has about a 1-year history, whereas Apple has a much longer history we can look at. And so the idea is that we are looking for gaps. So let's say Apple closed here on this day, and then the next day it opened here, and so eventually it recovered. But it's essentially just trying to buy panic, right? A gap down can be related to like real fundamental news, but stocks just tend to mean revert. So this is why we look at this gap strategy. We have all the information here about the statistics of it. Now, it may not be true for every single stock to behave in this way. See, we think that, for example, stocks may tend to fill their down gaps, just simply because. And filling gaps is not really a valid concept. I don't really believe in filling gaps in general, because you have to understand the context of why is that, like, just in general, filling a gap, if something goes down for it to come back up, or if something goes up for it to come back down, just for any asset in general, the entire concept of just filling a gap just because it's a gap, I think is a very stupid concept. But this the reason that we talk about this is because we can see the data, and we can see that stocks seem to tend to mean revert. We've got all kinds of different models here looking at how stocks perform when the previous day was down. You can take this to 5 days being down, not on this, but you can look at that. Anyone can look at that, and you can see that it's very similar. And so the idea is that these gaps tend to fill for stocks on down gaps, right? Like, I would never really want to be shorting something like the S&P just because it gapped up, right? Because we're always